Well, we've been having this wonderful series on identifying and then reflecting the 20 most historical mosques in South Africa for a variety of reasons, and we've had such good feedback from people giving us ideas who we should be speaking to and what. One of the suggestions that's come from many people is talk about the Soofie Mosque in Ladysmith. So let's do just that. With me is Dr. Mohuddin Khan, the chairman of the Ladysmith Mosque and the Madressah Trust. Appreciate your time. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Khan. Thank you for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. I see you are in the in the mosque area, so we got some lovely visuals of you in the background as well, and which is just wonderful. Let's start with. So we've been talking about historical mosques in South Africa. What do you think this particular mosque is significant and historical in the South African Muslim community?
MashaAllah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Soofie Mosque is part of the National Monuments Council, part of the National Heritage Society, but more pertinently, it was the fifth mosque set up by Hazrat Sufi Sahib Rahimullah. Started his program from 1895, started with the mosque in Riverside, and then progressively where you had mosques established in all over KZN, eventually ending up Butte, and then as far as Cape Town. But where the mosque that he started in Ladysmith, Ashraf, I'm just going to show you, this was the original mosque that Hazrat Sufi Sahib started in 1905, and completed by 1906. So at that time, the area where he put up the mosque, incidentally, adjoining the river here, quite unique because there was absolutely no residents, no people around. And what is very impressive of the current mosque, mashallah, is that in 1996, this is what you entered up. Was, again, you can see absolutely no residential areas. And thanks and Allah bless brother Haji Suleiman Sidat, who started with his peers, and they put up this quite illustrious, majestic, and mashallah, iconic masjid.
Well, it certainly is iconic. I mean, I'm looking at the size of the mosque. So you're saying, firstly, there were no residential area at the time that Sufi Sahib built it. Why would he then build it when there's no residents and around the area? And does the same apply even now? You're still saying that where the mosque is situated, there's no residential area around it?
Ever since then, at that time, there was nobody in this area across the river. Everybody lived, in the center of the town, what is now the CBD. But now, currently, in the last sort of 80, 90 years, slowly people started moving in. And now the majority of the population is around in the precincts of this mosque and has spread out. And in fact, adjoining this sector across the river, the so-called famous Klip River that repeatedly gets flooded, is now we have at least 7 other masajids in the area as well.
Okay, but this is still the dominant mosque. I mean, one thinks of the blue mosque, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, and you look at the size. I mean, in its own way, this mosque is majestic in its stature, isn't it? How many worshippers can it accommodate?
Well, just in the front that you are looking at the moment, comfortably you can get up to 650, and then in the Sehen area at the back, you can get another 200. Bismillah. Okay, and we've got a further extension done subsequently.
All right. And going back to the point about the community, so often people move into a community, then they build a mosque. Yeah, the mosque effectively became the focal point of hijrah, of migration to a community, by a community to a focal point of prayer. And this is just fascinating, isn't it?
MashaAllah. Well put, Ashraf. You couldn't have put it better. Basically, it became the pivotal point, and now you had the community, the madrasas, and then the entire community has converged within the precincts. And alhamdulillah. Okay. And part of the reason, I must say, historically, is the fact the infamous Group Areas Act force the people to be moved out of the center of the town and then to be literally put across the river. Perhaps Hazrat had insight into that.
Absolutely. Which gets me to ask you about the impact of this particular mosque to the community of Ladysmith. I mean, share what you can about the impact it's made in that area.
Look, mashallah, brilliant. Because, I mean, this mosque has hosted, I mean, many international ulama dignitaries, alhamdulillah, mashallah. I mean, the fact that, I mean, just the architectural design is unique. What makes the architectural design unique? And I must mention the name of a Mr. Chacha Jamaluddin. Now, Ashraf, you will see in your Salam Media profiling of the mosque, the visual that you've sent out, you have beautiful minarets of the mosque. I mean, it's majestic. It is so unique that, I mean, even some like Egypt M magazine featured this masjid in their in-cabin magazine for quite a while. Now, what is very, very interesting, I must tell you, at the moment, we are in the process of renovating the masjid, alhamdulillah. Especially the minarets, because this new revised mosque was done in 1966, and over time with erosion of the minarets, etc. And we've had a very prominent contractor who's come to do the mosque. And one of the things that amazes them, that just for them to refurbish, to clean the minarets, they can't figure out how did even the original builders build those minarets and access that. Because for them just to wash with power sprays, etc., I had to arrange for hooks to be put for the alicias. And you ask yourself, how is it that that the minarets were put at that time? And I must tell you something else. Why I mentioned the name of Mr. Chacha Jamaluddin, there was no architectural design except his physical hands that molded the domes, the minarets, everything on top. Builder, who became the architect, engineer, working on hands.
So Chacha Jamaluddin, you got that? I got the name right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And the architectural design. I mean, can it be likened to a certain type of calligraphy, perhaps, or design that you are able to share?
Look, it seems to be a combination. I mean, if you look at, like you mentioned, the Blue Mosque, and if you look at, you find even our Midran Mosque, and they take a feature dominant. Now, when you look at the Soofie Mosque, it seems to be a blend, very much. I mean, if you look around at all the masajids internationally, you can't pinpoint it to localize it to any particular country. I mean, it's quite unique in that sense, mashallah.
Absolutely. So who now you're the chairperson of the mosque and Madressah Trust, so you hold a very important leadership position, and inshallah you serve it very, very well, and may continue to do so. Tell me then about the resident imam now, and maybe just one or two of the activities besides the performing of the salah that you'd like to share with us before I let you go.
Oh, Bismillah. Firstly, let me introduce the imam to you. This is Maulana Abdul Alim Akhlaka. He is as iconic as this mosque, in service of this community for 39 years.
Okay.
Right? And he is still the principal of the Madressah that is aligned with the Soofie Masjid or the Ladysmith Mosque and Madressah Trust. Right? And I will get Maulana just to show you some of the features of the mosque inside. But before that, Ashraf, I'm going to introduce my vice chairman, Brother Ghulam Hussain Usman, who has been very, very much involved with me over the last literally 40 years, in the activities of the masjid. And also for the last 18 years, I'm very proud of my Sheikh Musa Banda, who melodiously has been rendering the azan and deputizing as imam as well when the need arises at this masjid. But let me just give Maulana a phone for a while, so he can just show you some of the inner features of the masjid.
Okay, we got about 3 minutes, right, to do that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Go ahead, Maulana. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. No, this is the front section, the mimbar. This is the mihrab. This is the front section of the masjid. And here you've got the attributes of Allah, the beautiful names Allah, and this is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and you are here starting from the front section, and we are going to go right around the masjid with all the divine attributes of Allah.
Okay, oh, that's beautiful, and I love the
So,
the
mashallah, you
coloring.
have
Yeah.
the 99 names of Allah that have been from the 1996 here now in the masjid, and then on the windows. Malana just mentioned.
Yes. We have got here inscribed, Wallahu khairur raziqeen. Allah is Wallahu khairur raziqeen. Allah is the best provider of your sustenance. And then you've got Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us. And He is the one who provides the ni'mah to mankind.
Okay.
See, so mashallah, right around the masjid, you'll see
Alhamdulillah.
all these inscriptions, featured, and obviously with great significance, very important to Maulana.
Yeah, and I love the color. I love the color combination as well. I mean, besides that, just before I let you go, is there any project outside of the mosque, in terms of an outreach that you do that you want to just share in about a minute? Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, because the LMMT has been involved so active, and intensely within the community. Mashallah. Firstly, Ashraf, Soofie Masjid is one of the masjids. You have the central mosque in town, and then you have a new masjid that has been put up in the Acaciaville area, which has been completed. We're just naming it at the moment, officially inaugurating it. And mashallah, it's aligned with a lot of the activities, because the Ladysmith Mosque and Madressah, for instance, your Gurba committee, your Ghusals, etc., are all done under its auspices. All our hearses are aligned, and we are a community-based organization, and we are aligned with all, alhamdulillah, with the other brothers from the other masajids, and mashallah, you have a wonderful, refreshing community in this town that all work together.
And well, I'm so glad we spoke to you, because I mean that's the point. If we want to find out, 20 historical mosques in South Africa, and I'm happy to say that this Ladysmith Soofie Mosque certainly amongst them. And your explanation has just validated the reasons why we should have been speaking to you in the first place. So I'm very happy that we've done just that. Shukran for your time. Inshallah, I was in Ladysmith when I was a lighty a long time ago, when we drove all the way to Durban. It hasn't happened in a long time. Now we've got a different highway, but you never know. Allah may decide that reasons will take us there. And if so, I will certainly connect with you.
Bismillah. Come and join us, be our guest, and come to this beautiful masjid and gain your blessings therefrom, mashallah.
Inshallah. There we are, Dr. Mohuddin Khan, the chairman of the Ladysmith Mosque and Madressah Trust. So there we are, the Ladysmith Soofie Mosque, one of the 20 most significant mosques in South Africa. This is not a perfect science. We don't exactly have a table that says this is number one. Now, these are just 20 because we've only got space for 20, but perhaps you can suggest your own ones in terms of which other mosque we should be featuring that you think is historically hugely significant in our country. What's also significant is the people of Bukap. That's this historically Muslim community in Cape Town, very much in the city, and formerly Scottish Grove, now officially called the Bukap area. I was there 2 weeks back, and they have their iftar or their buka. So buka is in the breaking of the fast. It's very colloquial in the Cape Malay language. The buka of the Bukap happens tonight, and I think my understanding is that Salam Media will also cover many of the aspects of the buka for Bukap, the breaking of the fast in the Bukap region. But people will come out and break their fast and perform their salah of Maghrib in the street, and it's incredibly colorful and beautiful. And when we talk about other countries in the world, here's one in our own country, in one of the great cities of South Africa, and we do just that. So look out for that. Just the last thing, and I want to just draw your attention to this. There's been this story that is such a puzzling story of a person trying to break fast in a train, and in the Gau train, not just any train, in the Gau train nogal, and was prevented from breaking his fast. So he goes by the name of Yusuf Aziz. You can follow him on Twitter. And he said, I got detained for breaking my fast on a Gau train. I explained it to them so nicely, but they didn't seem to care. So the Gau train, please get woke and educate yourself. Rihanna Musaji then commenting to the Gau train saying, detaining someone for breaking their fast on the train suggest that the Gautrain is completely out of touch with the South African diversity and reality, be more relevant to your context. The Gautrain themselves have officially replied saying that not eating, here's it, I'm reading it. Good evening. Kindly note, as per the Gautrain rules, eating, drinking, or chewing gum is not permitted within the Gautrain stations, including trains and buses. And then gives a whole story about their rules, right? And then Rehana Musaji again saying, yes, we know your rules, but you seem to ignore context and that your rules are out of touch with reality. Where do you sit on that story? It's something we need to cover, and we will cover it on this The Ashraf Garda show. Perhaps on Monday. If not on Monday, then Tuesday. We'll definitely do that. For all of you, enjoy the rest of the day. It's Jummah, so the Jummah of Ramadan. Jummah Mubarak to you, and inshallah, have a good day and a good fasting day of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.